All right, so this is what I had to do to add a AMR 300 supercharger to the Orion Reaper. And the first thing I did was to upgrade the fuel system. I put in a higher capacity Bosch fuel pump, and I went from a returnless to a return style fuel system. It's just better. You can get more pressure into the system that way by using a rising rate fuel pressure regulator, which is right here. This is an Aeromotive, which is probably one of the best you can buy. Works really well. What I did was plumbed in the return line right into the top of the fuel tank, as you can see. There's the hose. I tapped into the brake booster vacuum line for the pressure line to the regulator. I also installed a series of gauges. This is my fuel pressure gauge, oil pressure gauge, air fuel ratio gauge, and boost gauge. I'm also using the Power Commander ECU. It's a piggyback unit, which is designed for the John Deere 825i. It's got the same engine as the Reaper, so that worked out well. Here is the display for that I have up on the windshield. This is the supercharger installed. That is the intake piping there. I just ran it up. I went into the stock air box, removed the filter, sealed it up really well, and installed my air filter up in here, which works really well. The stock air box just helps muffle the whine from the supercharger quite a bit, so that's a big deal if you don't like a lot of noise. Also, when you're plumbing your intake and charge pipes, you need to install a bypass valve, which is right here. Tee it off the charge pipe, so when you're in boost and you get off the throttle real quick, the air doesn't slam into the intake. It just bypasses that air back into the supercharger. This is where it goes back into the supercharger there. There's the tee off the charge pipe. I ran the charge piping underneath the vehicle, came up on the driver's side like so. As you can see, I've got a water meth nozzle in the intake there. I chose to run water meth instead of an intercooler, just due to it's much cleaner. I really couldn't find a good place to put the intercooler. I was going to put it right behind my head on the bars, but I figured that would be too noisy with the whine coming right behind my head. So this is working really well. And I also have the pump mounted here, and I got a solenoid valve there to stop it from siphoning back down in. There's the Power Commander and Auto Tune right there. Since the Power Commander is a piggyback fuel system, not only do you use the stock map sensor, you need to add a map sensor for the Power Commander as well. And I used a Bosch 0261230242, or 042, I'm sorry. And put it in top of the intake. Just make sure that you remove the intake when you're drilling a hole for it. I thought I could hook up a vacuum to the end of the intake and suck all the particle or all the shavings out while I was drilling. No, it didn't work. It got some of them, but not all of them, and I thought I got them all. I fired it up and it ended up with shavings stuck in my valves. That was a nightmare. I had to pull the motor apart to get them all out. So, be warned. Also, the stock map sensor cannot see any boost. It will freak out the computer if it sees boost because it doesn't know what to do with it. So you have to install a Zener diode. It's a 4.3 volt diode. And what you want to do, I'll show you the wires. It is, you need to put the Zener diode just like that with the bands like that. You want to tap into the orange black wire on the stock map sensor, and the other end, this end, goes to the black wire, which sends the voltage to ground once it hits 4.3 volts. This is my water meth pressure sensor. I have it set to come on at 6 psi. I start spraying. I also had a problem with when I was in boost and under a big load. I had oil coming out from around the spark plugs. And I put a little lighter oil in it. I went with 530, and it seems to be working okay. And I put in a catch can as well. That's the plumbing going down to the catch can down there. Helps pretty good. Actually, I haven't drained this in a while, so you can see how much oil I got in the tube there. That's how much is in the can. Also, you have to leave the stock oxygen sensor in, and you need to install an oxygen sensor for the power commander right there. The power commander also uses a reference from the throttle position sensor, and you want to tap into the red-white wire right here on the throttle position sensor. These are the injectors I used. They're Siemens 24-pound, the EV ones. They're $58 a piece. You can get them on Amazon or from 50 Motorsports. They fit in well and they're working good.